CT Examiner, and welcome to our debate this evening. It's between the two candidates for mayor in New Britain, Republican Common Council Minority Leader Sharon Beloin-Saavedra and Democratic State Rep Bobby Sanchez. Joining me here this evening are CT Examiner staff writer Ali Lamaster in the middle there. She's our timekeeper. And our staff writer Amy Wu is on the left of her, is going to be holding the yellow card, which is when 15 seconds remain to the candidate to speak, she will hold the yellow card and the red card when time is up. And before we begin, I'd like to thank a number of people and entities, so bear with me, please. First off, thanks to the New Britain Public Library for hosting us tonight. And we'd also like to thank Kate Ryan for helping to organize the debate. And we'd like to thank Free Prime and Exact Media Services for providing the streaming online, the infrastructure, and the tech support. I'd also like to thank the local police who have been great for having a presence here this evening. And we'd like to thank you guys, our audience, for coming here, and also those in the overflow room and watching online. And lastly, the CT Examiner would like to thank the two candidates for their willingness to take questions. We appreciate that. You have not seen the questions in advance. And we look forward to hearing your opinions and insights on what's going to help the residents of this city. Thank you both very much. Each candidate will make a two-minute opening statement, and each candidate will have the chance to make a 2-minute closing statement. In addition, each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question, and the other candidate will then have 1 minute to respond and rebut. The candidates agreed that Sharon would give the first opening statement, and the speaking order of the candidates for closing statement was determined a little while ago by a coin toss, and Bobby will give the closing statement last. We ask that the audience refrain from applause and boos, if you can, if it's possible, we'll try. During the debate, in order to give the candidates the time to respond to the questions. Sharon, you can now deliver your 2-minute opening statement. Thank you.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Robert, for hosting this CT Examiner. Appreciate the opportunity to have a nice, robust, local discussion with my opponent. I want to thank my family for being here tonight and for always supporting me in all my endeavors. I am a lifelong New Britain resident. I've spent my entire adulthood in some form of service to the city of New Britain, whether or not it was elected or appointed. I have been dedicated to serving the people of New Britain. I am seeking the office of the mayor because with our stellar mayor no longer running and that vacant position being there, I think the next mayor needs to be able to pick up on day one and take us to the next level. And I feel of the two candidates in this room tonight, I am the only individual standing before you this evening who is ready on day one to take the mantle of leadership, understanding how municipal government works, how the municipal financing works, having current relationships with the people who work in City Hall, and to be able to not miss a beat in moving the city to the next level. So I want to thank you all for being here tonight, and I look forward to having a friendly yet robust discussion with my opponent on local issues, because after all, we're here because we're residents of the city of New Britain. So let's talk about issues that concern New Britain. Thank you.
Sure, thank you, Bobby.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Robert Strachey and the New Britain Public Library and CT Examiner for hosting this debate this evening. As many families here in the city of New Britain, my family came here in the 1950s from Puerto Rico and raised their family here, as well as I raised my son here in the city of New Britain. He was born here as well. During this time, I served as a public servant in the city of New Britain all my life. I worked for HRA of New Britain for 35 years as a preschool teacher, 15 years as a social worker. I also worked with the Fatherhood Initiative program here in the city of New Britain and in Waterbury. And presently, I am a director of a homeless shelter in the city of Meriden. When it comes to my 14 years as a state representative representing the city of New Britain, I have worked hard to bring tax cuts, particularly child tax cuts and credits. We increased the income tax earned credit for working families. We cut taxes on pensions and Social Security. And also, one of my biggest things here for New Britain was to bring in educational funding, an additional $35 million in ECS funding since I've been in office. And on top of that, the construction dollars that you see that are all the school construction that's going on in the city, close to 100% in reimbursement. So this election is about the future and who has the best plan to improve lives here in the city of New Britain. And I will review city finances. I will prevent big tax increases. I will cap water and sewer taxes, get crime under control, because I've been hearing this across the city where crime is out of control. Speeding is also out of control through our city with the reckless driving. And then I would restructure our middle schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. So the first question is for both of you. Sharon, you can go first on this one. What is your number one most pressing issue facing the city today that you would make a priority if elected? And please be specific.
Cut taxes. You want me to elaborate on that?
Sure.
Cut taxes. I think for far too long, the burden for funding city services is laying on the New Britain homeowners. Why is that? Because there are unfunded mandates coming from the state of Connecticut that after 14 years in the legislature, not enough money has come to the city of New Britain to fund the multitude of services that we are required to do under state law and mandate. We have lots of unfunded mandated services. We have 2 hospitals and a university. Pilot funding does not come even close to paying what the taxes would be if those locations were actually paying full taxes. The state has often shifted its responsibility. State representative is right. He has brought money to New Britain, but he hasn't fully funded the ECS formula. He hasn't met the state's obligation to special education needs. The Board of Education is struggling day in and day out to meet the needs of children in the district based on the fact that the state passes formulas and does not fully fund the formula. It's wonderful to pass a state law and say, this is how much your town should get, and then say, oh, but we're only going to give you 60% of that or 70% of that. The Board of Ed never knows how much money is going to come from the state. The state is woefully underfunding distressed municipalities like New Britain. And New Britain local taxpayers have shared in the cost of educating children. As a matter of fact, the criticism of flat funding is a total lie, because since this mayor has been in office and I've been part of her council, the MBR has gone up $4.8 million. And we have started a non-operational fund that has up to this year, $8 million. So we're meeting our obligation. The state is not.
Thank you, Sharon. Bobby, same question.
Thank you. I find it very interesting that she would cut taxes when she, on the Board of Education, asked for almost 12 tax increases throughout the city for educational funding. And also on the council, she raised taxes twice. So I'm glad that she wants to cut taxes that she has raised twice. In regards to the state funding education, ECS, the funding has come in rapidly on a yearly basis. And I recall in 2017, we looked at the formula as chair of the education committee. We looked at the ECS formula and we increased it for Waterbury and for New Britain because those were the 2 cities that were getting less. So we increased that by 5%. And if you look at the educational funding that's coming into the city, including school construction, because we don't have to put money into school construction because those buildings belong to the city, 95%.
Sharon, you can rebut.
Absolutely. School construction, I jump-started that. So Bobby is right, 95%. Of course, that started with Chamberlain. It was not 95% for De Loretto that I jump-started for Gaffney or for Smalley. 95% reimbursement came in with Chamberlain, and the only other school so far at 95% reimbursable is Holmes. However, what the citizens don't understand is New Britain has to fully bond for that and then apply piecemeal to get reimbursed. So although the state will over a year's worth of time reimburse the city for those expenditures, the city ponies up the money, carries the debt burden, $3 million a year in debt burden for the Board of Education for schools. And then we have to file a load of paperwork to get piecemeal reimbursement back. So yes, I do appreciate the state meeting its constitutional obligation to help and fund education, but make no mistake about it, New Britain has skin in the game the entire time. Thank you.
Bobby, you can also have 1 minute to rebut too.
Look, there's been flat funding of education on the city side for so many years, and people know that. The state has come through with educational funding. We have come through for school construction when needed. And yes, the city has to bond for that money, but the city gets reimbursed for it.
Okay. Second question, this is going to go to Bobby first and then Sharon. Let's talk about a story in the news recently. We've done stories on the status of the Main Street CT Fast Track Station and the garbage, loitering, and alcohol that everyone in the city knows goes on at that location. State police are responsible for the security and safety at the site. If elected Mayor Sharon, what specifically, I'm sorry, Bobby, if elected Mayor Bobby, what specifically would you do to address the concerns of residents and visitors to that location?
Well, we had reached out to the state police already, and a colonel did tell us that there have been a number of arrests at the CT Fast Track. They have reached out to a number of nonprofit organizations to send out individuals to talk to people that are there that are overdosing and causing crime. It's my understanding that in the past couple of weeks and months, it's been a little more difficult, but it's because we have seen an increase in homelessness here in the city of New Britain. And you're going to get more and more individuals sitting in those benches at the CT's Fast Track, because if I'm not mistaken, downtown New Britain, they removed most of those benches so that they can get people to move from downtown, center of downtown, to the CT Fast Track area. It's a problem. So from day one, I will not be sending letters to the state asking them to help with the CT Fast Track. I will do whatever I can to get our police involved, to get our community nonprofits involved so that we can remedy the problem that's going on there. This is ridiculous that we constantly point fingers at the state when we embraced, as a city, we embraced that fast track many, many years ago. And it was a Republican administration that embraced that fast track.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. Sharon?
Oh, absolutely. Until you asked Bobby Sanchez that question tonight, it's been crickets. He hasn't said a word since I raised the issue a month ago. So I'm glad to hear that you have some thoughts on it, Representative Sanchez. But considering the fast track has been here for 10 years and it is the property and authority of the state of Connecticut, yes, I'm pointing fingers at the state of Connecticut because it is their jurisdiction to take care of the fast track. The fast track also abuts a private railroad company that does not allow the city of New Britain to go on to that railroad company. So you would think the state police and the DOT would be very involved in the investment that they made with your vote, by the way, to put the fast track here in New Britain. The fast track is not creating homelessness. People now have the ability to ride that fast track for drug issues and drug sales that are rampant. And the New Britain Police Department has to step up and fill in because the state police are not there the way they're supposed to be there. And yes, I did send emails and letters, and I actually have a date to walk the fast track with the state police. Thank you.
Bobby, do you want to rebut?
It's very nice that she walked with the police and they did a cleanup the other day. I've done many cleanups in neighborhoods, never pointed to the city or to the mayor and blame them for those cleanups that I did in neighborhoods throughout the city. Look, the bottom line is the city of New Britain also has a responsibility. If crime's going on at the fast track and there is no state police trooper, then the city should intervene. You're not going to let that crime happen. That just makes no sense.
Sharon, you have a minute if you want to rebut?
Yeah, absolutely. The police don't let crime happen. Again, Representative Sanchez, if elected, thinks he's going to come in and tell the police how to do their job, the trained police officers. They don't let crime happen. We have a wonderful canine, 5 dogs, by the way, division that is often down at the fast track. And our police respond constantly. However, the cameras at the fast track only go to the state police. They don't go to our local police. So our police are a little bit blinded when they go into the fast track to intervene. It would be awfully nice maybe if state representative or the state police would let our local police have access to the camera system at the fast track. Thank you.
Thank you. So another big issue in the news is a vote possibly later this month on a housing bill. As you both know, the bill, which targets affordable housing, among other things, was vetoed in June by this governor. So I have 2 separate questions related to this bill. Sharon, you'll go first here.
Okay.
The first question is, there was a controversial fair share provision, which calls for the state to assign each town a target number of new affordable housing units with the goal of building 120,000 qualifying affordable housing units across Connecticut within 10 years or face the possible loss of state funding.
Mm-hmm.
So Sharon, please be specific on what your views are regarding the fair share component and whether you think that is a viable solution for this city.
Thank you. Thank you. That was the Democratic governor who vetoed that housing bill. And the housing bill would not really have an impact on New Britain because we are ahead of the game in affordable housing. Right now, the state of Connecticut requires 10% of all municipalities to have affordable housing. New Britain's at 19% affordable housing, so well above the state mandate. And oh, by the way, there's 169 towns in the state of Connecticut, and only 29 of us meet the 10% threshold of affordable housing. So we're already there, Robert. Thanks for the question.
Bobby?
That's good to know. And I know that we're already there at 19%. But the fact is, we still have a lot of unhoused individuals in this city. And we have to do something about that. And affordable housing to them is not what we are talking about, the housing units that we have in downtown New Britain. People cannot afford $1,400 a month rents when they're living on a Social Security income or SSI income. We have to do more to help these individuals, get them housed so they are not spending time out in the streets and living under bridges. So I was very disappointed because I did vote for that House Bill 5002 and was very disappointed when the governor did veto it. And I'm hoping that we'll go back in special session and vote for this bill.
Thank you. Sharon, Sharon, do you want to rebut that?
Sure. I'm just going to say that in terms of building affordable housing in New Britain, Berkowitz 2, Cortland Arms, Columbus Commons, 125 Columbus, the Ellis Block, just to name a few, brand new affordable housing, definition by HUD of affordable housing here in the city of New Britain. Oh, and by the way, Mount Pleasant is going under a big review. I'm sure you've seen the big publicity in the newspaper that the state gave some money. But prior to the state giving money for Mount Pleasant, New Britain ponied up $1 million in financing gap. And oh, by the way, the current mayor also negotiated property for swing space. Mount Pleasant's footprint is going to grow significantly for low-income housing. Thank you.
And Bobby, you have a minute to rebut if you'd like.
That's great that Mount Pleasant, and we did provide $7.5 million recently in bonding for Mount Pleasant because it's important. It's going to rebuild that housing area. The thing is that we're replacing it, but the same people will get to go and live in it. We still have a lot of unhoused individuals in the city of New Britain. It's getting worse. It's because we don't have enough affordable units. And that's the bottom line.
Thanks, Bobby. Second part of the question, what, in your view, Bobby, you're first, can the state do to be a better partner when it comes to all forms of housing?
I think, and I've been saying this for a while to the Department of Housing, the chairwoman, Sayla. I said to her that we need to put more incentives in, to give more incentives to developers to develop more affordable housing units throughout the state of Connecticut. I think that what they're using as a formula and percentage is not enough, and it needs to increase because you're not going to get developers to come in and build affordable housing units without some type of incentive or help. So this has been talked to with the Department of Housing, and it's going to be part of, I hope, the 5002 bill that we're going to vote on in the next special session.
Sharon?
Yeah, absolutely. So the commissioner of the Department of Housing loves Mayor Stewart. She's been in our community so many times in ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings with Mayor Stewart regarding affordable housing, neighborhood housing services in Chrysalis at 2 different developments. She was here, the Ellis Street block, the commissioner was here. Boy, this mayor of the city of New Britain currently knows how to work with Democratic leadership at the Capitol to bring money into town for affordable housing. And I will be that exact same type of mayor, working in a bipartisan fashion to bring what we need to New Britain. On the second part of that, I'm going to say regionalization. New Britain is doing all the heavy lifting. We need some communities outside of New Britain to also provide for affordable housing and low-income housing. New Britain is carrying a lot of weight. We're doing our job. We're doing it well. And now we need to start looking at regionalizing these efforts. Thank you.
Bobby, you want to rebut that?
It's my understanding that the bill that's coming up in special session will address some of those issues, but we all know that regionalization is something that many other state reps and senators in the past do not like. For some reason, they don't like it. I do, because I think we need to share our resources. But That's how things go. I'm one person out of 151 state reps that are up there. So I can advocate for one thing, but if I don't get the 76 votes with me, we're not going to go anywhere.
Sharon, you can rebut too for a minute.
Yeah, failure on the state.
Okay. Next question, Sharon, you're going to answer this first. The city for the 2025-26 year allocated $128 million to the Board of Ed as a direct appropriation, with an additional $2.6 million held in a non-operating budget line, totaling $130.6 million. This amount is the same as the 24-25 budget, despite the Board of Ed requesting over $142 million. Do you think the Board of Ed should have been flat funded? And what is an adequate total budget amount for the school district? And where is the greatest need for funding within the school district budget,
Okay.
Sharon?
First of all, it wasn't flat funding. Your math is just a little off. We just gave another $1 million at the last council meeting to the Board of Education. So in that non-operating, it's actually $3.6 million. And so I would say not flat funded. I would also say, when you look at what it costs to run a school, the 2 SROs in the high school we pay for off budget. We pay for all the crossing guards to help our students get to school safely. That's over $600,000. The high school offers a security academy there, and our police, fire, and EMS do the curriculum and the instruction free of charge. The Board of Ed does not pay for that. All the on-site after-school programming for our youth is provided through the City of New Britain's Park and Recreation Department. The New Britain Public Schools does not pay for that. There are a myriad of in-kind services that are constantly being funneled because we love and support our children. It is a false narrative of the opposition to say that the schools have been flat funded. And also, during the budget discussion, I pointed out to the superintendent how over 40 positions were held vacant for a year. So when you're asking for additional money, in which would have required us to raise taxes, you need to explain why you carried 40 vacancies in your budget, fully funded for a year.
Okay. Thanks, Sharon. Bobby?
Well, with that budget, I believe 8.6 million came from the state of Connecticut. That was an increase in ECS funding. And like I stated before, we've been increasing the ECS funding year after year after year. It might not be up to where the standards that the city wants, but for flat funding at the city side has also hurt a lot our school system. And we can't just throw money at everything as well. Accountability is key. And I can't understand why in the past 12 years, maybe even longer than that, our school system still is at the basement. 168 out of 169 towns, we're at 168. Why are we still there? Where's the accountability? As mayor, I will work with the superintendent and I will hold them accountable.
Sharon, do you want to rebut?
I think our educators are working very hard to try and raise the bar for our kids. And our kids come to school with a myriad of issues from homelessness to single parent households, to socioeconomic disadvantages, to grandparents, to poor attendance, to also being very transient. I don't know what the magic bullet answer is to this. I just know that we all need to work together and try to solve the problem. But it starts with saying to our teachers and our paras, we believe in you, we trust you, and we want to help you and empower you to do the best you can while you're in the classroom. It all comes down to classroom instruction, and that's where we have to focus our attention.
Thanks, Sharon. Bobby, you can rebut if you want.
I too believe that the teachers are doing their best and that the paras are doing a great job. They have seen multiple cuts almost every year, and especially with paras, which can assist in a classroom. But also I've been hearing from certain paras where paras are being moved from a classroom with special ed children to, taking care of a child in a preschool classroom. And these paras have said to me, why am I being moved around? They have talked to the superintendent, they have talked to the Board of Ed, and they're still in discussion about why this is happening. But they feel that they're not getting enough attention. And let me also point out that along with the 8.6 million that we provided at the state level for ECS, we also provided an additional $2 million for special education, which is something that we have been fighting for at the state many, many, many years. We finally got the governor to agree, and the House of Representatives and the Senate.
Thank you, Bobby. Next question goes to Bobby and then Sharon. In recent years, a number of blighted buildings in the city have been demolished, and in many cases, to make way for new housing and businesses. These include the property at 238 North Street, the former Berkowitz building on Main Street. Has the city done enough to address the blight concerns, and what are you hearing from residents and business owners regarding blighted properties and eyesores, and what else can be done to address those concerns? Bobby?
What I've been hearing from people is that too much emphasis has been put down into downtown New Britain. Downtown New Britain looks really nice. It really does. Our parks look beautiful. That's something that we can't get away from. We got to continue that progress. But what I've been hearing is that our neighborhoods are lacking the resources. Many people have complained that they've been ignored, particularly one section in town on Allen Street, where people have been arguing for years. If I'm not mistaken, it's 28 to 30 years they've been waiting for that flooding issue to be resolved. And the city has held back on fixing that issue. Well, you know, when it comes to affordable housing, I think it's very important that we have affordable housing, and we need to take care of the blight situation. We have been doing that, and we'll continue to do with the progress here in the city of New Britain. I will continue with the progress here in the city of New Britain.
Thanks, Bobby. Sharon?
Sure. He said a lot of things. Most of it didn't answer the blight question, but there is a blight task force in the city of New Britain run by the director of the health department, and they are very proactive. But most of the time, if you see blight in your neighborhood, you need to call it in. I just had Michael Knight Zayas call in a blight issue last week. I had it taken care of in 48 hours. You call us, you let us know that there's an issue, and we can work with the health department to take care of it. Our eyes and ears aren't everywhere. We depend on the citizens of New Britain to be eyes and ears for us. If you have an issue in your neighborhood that needs to be taken care of, you call the mayor's office, you call one of your council members. I have taken care of several blight issues. And then afterwards, I say to people, make sure you follow up. Let me know, did this happen? I follow up with the health department. Our health department is very proactive in blight, and blight is an issue, but we need the help of our citizens to let us know which neighborhoods and what is exactly is happening so that we could tackle it.
Bobby, do you want to rebut for a minute?
No, I totally agree. We need the help of our citizens here in the city of New Britain in order to combat the blight problem that we have, if we have, in the city of New Britain. Again, I'm going back to affordable housing. We need more units of affordable housing in order to help our unhoused citizens of New Britain. That's going to be an issue throughout this year. And as mayor, I'm going to deal with that issue.
Sharon, you have a minute to rebut if you'd like to.
Sure. The current administration, which I am a part of, sitting on the city council, has dealt with affordable housing. We have literally added hundreds of new units. So it has not been going unanswered. We've been dealing with it. And as mayor, I will continue to deal with it. Thank you.
Okay. Then we have two questions on the homeless situation in the city. First part of the question, Sharon, is to you. According to school officials, 242 of the city's approximate 10,000 public school children do not have a permanent home, as they live in emergency shelters, transitional housing, non-shelter location, or with friends and relatives. What specifically, Sharon, in addition to the work currently being done, would you like school officials to do to address that issue?
So I'm going to answer it in two parts. First of all, as mayor, you honestly have no authority over the Board of Education. They are their own, by state statute, separate entity. So any questions about what's happening for a Board of Education, their policies, their procedures, that has to go through the Board of Education and through the superintendent. So anyone who stands up here as a mayoral candidate and tells you that they are going to enforce their will on the Board of Education, that is a false narrative. There is no legal jurisdiction for a mayor to force their will. The Board of Education, by state statute, is its own entity. Now, the issue of students being homeless, it is a crisis statewide. It is not a New Britain specific issue. And we have Joe Vavracek and a team of people who are working at the Board of Education level to try and find places and residencies for our kids. Our kids, like all the other folks that we are dealing with that are homeless, we need to solve the homelessness problem. But for every bed you build, there are 10 people waiting for it. And the more beds you open up, the more people need them. It is not an easy answer. Not for me, not for him, not for any of us who are in office. What we have to do is find a way to all work together to navigate between government and our not-for-profit networking to come together and find solutions for these problems, empowering families, finding jobs for parents so that they can afford rents. But really, parent capacity, supporting our families, and working collectively together. Homelessness is a very, very complicated issue, and not one person is going to be able to solve it. And it certainly is not going to be solved at the municipal level. We need state intervention and state support. No one municipality is going to solve the crisis of homelessness, no matter what anybody tells you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Sharon. Thank you. Bobby?
The state has provided some dollars in order to help people that are unhoused and to work with the, here in New Britain with the Friendship Center. I run a shelter in Meriden. I received funding from the state level. I have 75 beds that are all full, but I have also about 40 to 50 individuals living outside of the building because there's not enough housing in the city of Meriden. Same problem that we're having here in the city of New Britain. People need housing. This is the richest country in the world. There's no reason why we have homeless people on our streets. And Sharon is absolutely correct. It's not an easy issue, but we can work on solving the problems. Right now, we can open up what they call day centers. This is a plan that I've been talking about in Meriden, where we can help those individuals that are still living outside of a shelter be able to take a shower and eat and so forth. I'm sorry, my time is up.
Okay, thanks. Sharon, do you want to rebut?
I sure do. So bed capacity, the state funds emergency shelter beds. The city of New Britain does not pay for housing. We are not in the housing business. The state funds emergency housing beds. The city of New Britain has 82 emergency shelter beds. They have been at 82 for years. So the state of Connecticut has not infused money into increasing emergency shelter beds here in the city of New Britain. We have 3 shelters. We have the Friendship Center, we have the Salvation Army, and we have Prudence Crandall. There has not been an influx in state money specific for emergency shelter beds. The city of New Britain does, however, support providers of emergency shelter beds through our CDBG program. Although we don't fund increasing beds, we fund maintenance of facilities so that they're able to have better facilities. But the bed capacity is definitely at the state level. And yeah, that's also just to say drugs and alcohol abuse and mental health issues significantly impact our ability to help homeless people.
Thanks, Sharon. Bobby, you have a minute to rebut if you'd like.
What I've been hearing here in the city of New Britain, when it comes to the winter warming centers, there's just not enough. And the city has not helped with warming centers. Many cities don't help with warming centers. And over in Meriden, what I have done is worked with the city to provide additional funding for warming center. And we do have a warming center with 35 beds coming up in the winter. We need to do more about getting these individuals off the streets during the cold months. It's ridiculous that we've had numerous individuals die here in New Britain while they're homeless, without a place to go, without a place to eat. It's wrong. This is something that's very, very wrong, and we need to do more. If the state doesn't want to step in, then the city should step in. We need to do more. These are human beings.
Thanks, Bobby. Second part of the question related to the homeless. Bobby, you go first. In a recent story on the homeless, you both told me the same thing, that the city can't deal with the homeless problem on its own and that the state needs to be a big player in finding solutions. So what is the number one thing, Bobby, you'd like to see the state do, and please be specific, to help the city, to help address the city's homeless situation?
I like to see the state provide more dollars so that we can provide more beds here in the city of New Britain, and it could be done. And this is something that's being negotiated right now with 5002, which I hope that we come out in special session to pass. This is a discussion that I've had myself with the governor. I told him that we need more dollars for housing individuals that are homeless. He agreed. It's under negotiations, of course, because we're talking about millions and millions and millions more that would be added to the 5002 bill. But more is needed. And as mayor, I will be up there talking with the governor, talking with leadership, trying to get those resources back into the city so that we can help the unhoused, and also negotiating a percentage of how we can get more developers to build more housing units, affordable housing units, and get an incentive from the state of Connecticut to do so.
Thanks, Bobby. Sharon?
Sure. First, I just want to say, since so much of this rests on state funding, wouldn't it be better for Representative Sanchez to stay in the state legislature and advocate from that point of view to get state money for the city of New Britain? I would imagine that our state delegation should have more leverage in that area than any mayor would. More beds? Absolutely, we could have more beds. We're never going to have as many beds as we would need for the amount of people that are homeless. Again, I say regionalization. I don't think everyone understands the bureaucracy around the homeless. You have the Department of Housing, who filters money to an entity called Journey Home, who then filters money to 7 entities called the CAN. We're all assigned different regions within the CAN, and then you have to hope that your region gets some money from the CAN. So you are 4 levels down before the money hits the agency or the town that's actually going to get the money to the people. So the state bureaucracy is a problem getting money to homeless people.
And Bobby, you could rebut for a minute if you'd like.
As I stated before, we are working on getting additional funding for housing. We are working on getting additional funding for the unhoused. Absolutely right. The state needs to do more. It's something that I've been advocating for years and years and years, but I'm only one person. If no one else is going to agree with it, we're not going to get the funding. This is the bureaucracy that we fight up there at the state capitol. But as mayor, I will be up there at the Capitol negotiating and talking with individuals in power that we can bring the additional money into the city of New Britain. That's what I'll do.
Sharon, you can rebut for a minute if you'd like.
14 years as a state legislature, and it hasn't happened. So I don't know what one term as mayor is going to change his ability to bring money into New Britain for the homelessness.
Okay, Sharon, for this, we're going to do a little switch here. Sharon and then Bobby. Sharon, please address your opponent with any question on any topic that is important to you and the residents and property owners in the city that you'd like him to address. So your question is to Bobby.
Okay. How do you calculate the mill rate?
How do I calculate the mill rate?
Yes, we're talking about taxes. I'm running on cutting taxes. You say you're going to cut taxes. How do you calculate the mill rate?
Well, look, we have to look at the budget first and see how much we're spending, right? Once we've looked at this budget, we can do our calculations of what's good, what should be good in that budget and what should not be in that budget. There's been a lot of waste as well, and we need to deal with that. Calculating the mill rate, well, it's simple math.
It is. So can you lay that simple math out for us?
I don't know. Maybe you can help me with this.
Oh, I could help you with it, but it's my turn to ask you a question. So obviously you don't know how to calculate the mill rate.
I will learn.
Okay.
Okay, Bobby, similarly, you can ask Sharon anything you'd like to ask her.
So, Sharon, for so long, you were a progressive Democrat for many, many, many years. You ran as a progressive Democrat on the board as a board of education president. You were on the council as a progressive Democrat. And then just before the election in 2024, you switched over to the Republican Party. My question to you is, do you support Donald Trump's policies?
So that is a very good question. That is a very good question. Although it has absolutely nothing to do with local government. Let me say it this way. I thought we weren't allowed to boo
Yeah,
and
guys,
hiss in
please
here.
let the
Yeah,
candidates talk
okay.
themselves.
So here we go. Here's the answer all you current DTC members are waiting for. I have disagreed with Donald Trump's policies in the past, and I will continue to be critical of his policies in the future if it hurts the residents of New Britain. Boom.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, Bobby. Bobby, the city has been run by the Aaron Stewart administration, as you know, for the past dozen years. What one policy initiative put forth by the administration do you agree with and why?
Repeat that again.
Okay. The city has been run by the Stewart administration for the past 12 years. What one policy initiative put forth by the administration do you agree with and why?
Well, I agree with all the progress that's been happening in the downtown area and what she has done with the parks. The city of New Britain is looking really nice. It is. And I think that the mayor has done a good job in regards to that. Again, I will be looking and focusing at neighborhoods because as I'm door knocking, I get a lot of questions and issues about neighborhoods. and what's going on and how they feel neglected. But I do agree that the mayor has done a wonderful job when it comes to the progress that's happened in rebuilding downtown New Britain and the parks.
Thank you, Bobby. And Sharon, similarly to you, what one policy initiative put forth by this administration do you disagree with and why?
That's an interesting question. I don't disagree with anything. I'm part of her team. I have enjoyed being part of that team. I have really admired her tenacity and her boldness and the way she's tackled the mess that she inherited from the previous Democratic mayor in the city. She walked into an administration where the city was almost bankrupt and had to do what she had to do financially to get us back in the black. By the way, whoever becomes mayor is inheriting a city with an A bond rating, a great rainy day and surplus fund, and actually no chances of even needing to raise any taxes because of the boldness of the mayor that we currently have. So like her or not like her, she made tough choices that the mayor that preceded her was unable to make. So therefore, yes, I proudly stand behind the work she's done at the mayor of the city of New Britain. We are in the black, we are not in the red, and we are ready to move forward and vote for me. And I'm going to cut your taxes because of the great shape the mayor has left this city in. Thank you.
Bobby, you can rebut for a minute.
I think the last Democratic mayor was 12 years ago, and we continuously blame the same mayor for the finances here in the city of New Britain. Okay, again, it's the finger pointing. That's not going to happen. When I'm mayor, it's not going to happen. I'm going to actually roll up my sleeves and talk to the individuals, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, or whoever you are. We're going to have all the stakeholders at the table, and we're going to get things done. I'm not going to point fingers. 12 years of blaming the same person. Thank you.
Sharon, you can
I
rebut.
absolutely going to rebut. So Bobby opened up this going down memory lane when he talked about funding education and when he brought up Allen Street. Allen Street, you said, has been neglected for 30 years. Do you know that Lucian Pavlak and Tim O'Brien were mayors during the 30 years that you claim Allen Street was neglected? So you can't have it both ways. Either we could take a walk down memory lane or we don't. It took this mayor about 10 years to get out of the mess. I'm not going to stop saying where the mess came from because it came from your side of the aisle.
Okay. I forget. I'm sorry. Bobby, did you rebut on this? Are we all set? My bad. I'm sorry.
Again, pointing fingers. That's all they do. It's just point fingers. I mean, get the work done.
We
Hold
did.
people accountable. Get the work done.
Let's go ahead, Sharon, quickly.
Okay, we did get the work done. And now you're pointing fingers, talking about tax increases. The only reason there was a few tax increases was because the mess that was inherited. You pointed a finger, and I'm responding to the rationale behind that. What's good for one is good for the other.
You raise taxes twice.
Okay.
You did at the state level how many times?
Okay.
Nope.
Next question. All right. Civility in city government. That's an interesting question after. In recent months, there have been a few incidents, I think we know what they were, of what could be referred to as uncivil moments in city politics. This question is to you, Sharon. What can we do? What can you do if elected to lower the tone in city government, and how will you work across the aisle with members of the opposite party to do that?
I think what happens is caucuses get into city government, and whoever gets the majority thinks, okay, we're in the majority, so we don't have to work with the minority party. So I think communicating and understanding that whoever is in the majority, you still have to work across party lines. And I'm saying this to whoever, whether the Democratic is in the majority or the Republicans are in the majority. It doesn't matter if you have the 1 or the 2 vote advantage. The way to keep ongoing communication is to talk to each other, talk about issues, not come up and blindside one caucus because at the last minute or the minute before you step on the council floor, you're getting substitute language for something. It really would be all about communication.
Bobby?
So, as I've been up there at the state capitol for 14 years and working on the education committee, I have been very fortunate to work hand in hand with my Republican minority leader on the committee. We were able to pass all our bills out of the education committee through consent, which means we got bipartisan support across the board. And we did that about 95% of the time, every year that I was chair of the Education Committee. I sit down and I listen. I sat down with the Republicans, listened to their plan. We also got together and negotiated bills that they weren't in favor of, and we were able to pass those bills with consent. So I can work with the other side in a bipartisan way. I have demonstrated it, and I will continue to do it.
Sharon, you can rebut for a minute if you like.
I would just say, right now, I'm on a team of mixed diversity in terms of political affiliation, from Democrats, Republicans, independents, unaffiliates. That's the way we run, even though the other side hates that we say that. We're called the Rudd Caucus because we're in a variety of different political affiliations, but we all row in the same direction. We come, we talk, we discuss issues, and we move forward. So I think that in and of itself, the way we run is bipartisan. But also, I'm going to just tell you, back in the day when I was on the city council, I was always working with Joe Shalinga, Paul Carver, Linda Blogosowski, God rest her soul. So I have a long track record of working with people from all different political backgrounds. Thank you.
And Bobby, you can rebut for a minute if you like.
Well, what I've been seeing in the past couple of years is that, yeah, you do have the Rudd Caucus, but how many times has that Rudd Caucus not agreed with the mayor? I mean, I can't think of any time. So, I don't expect as mayor to have rubber stamps on my side. I want independent thinkers.
Okay, thanks, Bobby. Next question is on crime in the city. According to the FBI Crime Explorer, in late 23, the last year for statistics on this, unfortunately, the overall crime rate in the city was almost 5% above the national average, and the city ranked as the 79th safest out of 94 cities in the state. What can and will you do to work with local police to address crime, both serious crime and nuisance crime? Bobby?
So we need to see exactly why in the last 5 to 6 years, there has not been any neighborhood block watches, because I've been in neighborhoods talking to people. They feel that that's gone. We don't see community officers within the community walking or riding their bikes. A person that a neighborhood can reach out to and say, hey, we're having this issue in our neighborhood. It might not be an emergency, but something that a community officer can deal with. I recall seeing these community officers when I was working on Arch Street at South Church at a daycare. I knew my officer was Chris. And if I saw Chris walking up the street and I saw an issue going on in the park or whatever, I would call Chris. He would come in, take notes, and he would do an investigation. So we don't see that anymore. And that's a big issue. And I think that that's going to help quite a bit bring down the crime rate here in the city of New Britain. We've had how many shootings in the last year here in the city? And how many break-ins? We still have people, it's rampant, driving up and down the street speeding. I mean, what's the issue with speed bumps? I've heard many individuals tell me, why can't we have speed bumps on our streets? I don't know. I mean, that's a question they have to ask the present mayor here in the city of New Britain. Why can't not speed bumps be placed on our streets? Hartford has them. Waterbury has them. Many other cities have them. It's not a problem, but it does help with the speeding.
Sharon?
Sure. Number one problem in deterring crime: state law and the court system. We could arrest them, we could prosecute them, but if the court system slaps them on the hand and sends them back out into the street, can we say repeat offender? Okay. I had my own car broken into, the ignition system torn apart at CVS here in New Britain. 3 juveniles were arrested and caught for it. They went to court, got their hands slapped, and they're back out on the streets, probably doing it to somebody else's car. We need to equip police with the tools to enforce laws and have the court system lay down some penalties that deter repeat offenders. That's number one, sis. So I say arrest, prosecute, and convict. I will say we are on the way to speed cameras. We had another meeting today. We're moving forward. The council has passed several different resolutions, and we are going to tackle the traffic problem in the city of New Britain through the utilization of speed cameras.
Bob, you can rebut for a minute.
Speed cameras are really good. I understand that. Speed bumps, though, we need them as well. I've seen door knocking. I've seen people speeding 60 to 70 miles per hour on a small street. It just makes no sense. And there's families out there with children that are afraid to send their kids outside because of the speeding that goes on in our streets. As for the court system, and this past session, we passed legislation to make crime and give them harsher punishments and fines. So that should be kicking in pretty soon. And it's my understanding it should be kicking in on January 1st. And hopefully that will help with that issue on the courts basically slapping their hands and letting them go.
And Sharon, you can rebut if you like.
The only other thing I really want to say about crime is so many of the shootings that have happened that you referred to happen from out-of-towners. They come into New Britain for one reason or another and commit these crimes. And our police department has, within 48 to 72 hours, made arrests and closed these cases down.
Okay, thank you. Next question, Sharon, you're first. For the first time in recent memory, all three national bond rating agencies upgraded the city's ratings over the past year or so. Do you believe the city's fiscal stability is on a strong footing? If so, why? And if not, what can you do if elected to get it on a stronger fiscal footing?
So many of my previous answers relate directly to that. Yes, the city is on very strong financial footing. Why is it on strong financial footing? Because we had an administrator and a team of aldermen willing to make the hard decisions to put us back on the right fiscal track. We have to keep moving in that direction. We are very fortunate to have these bond ratings because they do help us in terms of debt service and our ability to go out and get bonds for future projects. But why are we in this strong financial position? I'm going to say it again. It's because the leadership that it currently exists, the mayor and her team that doesn't disagree with her on these financial situations, have put the city in the black, and it's a credit to us that we are at an A rating.
Bobby?
Oh, I think it's great that we're an A rating when it comes to bonding. Oh, look, if that's if that's the issue, and we're doing so great, then why is it such a problem to fix the issues that are happening in our neighborhoods? Why is it that we constantly say we need state money to fix an issue of flooding in the Allen Street area? I mean, it's $13 million, right? Okay, so if we have a good standing, we should be able to bond for those $13 million and fix the problem. Why does it have to wait for 30 years? I don't understand. And you did mention that, you mentioned DeFranco and Lucian Public, absolutely. But guess what? 20 years under a Republican administration and still nothing was done.
Sharon?
I didn't mention DeFranco, but thank you for doing that.
This is
Allen Street. He brought up Allen Street. $6 million have been put aside by the city council for the Allen Street project. I'm going to remind, because I do see Dave DeFranco in the audience, there was a bunch of state legislators, myself, Alderman Smedley, took a walk on Allen Street. I say this at every single meeting because Frank Chase comes to it. And the state said to us, if you could get 1/3 of the funding of that project, we can most likely come up with the other 2/3. We came up with our third, and the state gave us, oh, wait a minute. We came up with $6 million. The state just bragged about giving us $2 million. So it seems like it was reversed when they said to us, you, New Britain, come up with 1/3 and we'll give you 2/3. Well, our $6 million up against their $2 million, we still fall flat on that to the state.
And Bobby, you have a minute to rebut.
Again, the state never made any promises. The state representatives that were present, Napoli and Piscopo, both said you need to come up with about 30% in order for us to see if we can provide you additional bonding dollars. So come on, again, it is a city issue. Why is it they're pointing fingers again at the state and asking the state to cover for that? Enough is enough. 30 years of waiting, we cannot wait any longer. I become mayor, we're going to take care of that problem.
All right, Bobby, next question is for you. You have personally told me in several interviews, and you kind of repeated it here, that you believe the current city administration's view of development should be more focused on one that's citywide and not downtown-centric, in your words. What would you do if elected to address developments in the city's neighborhoods?
Well, what people have been complaining in the city neighborhoods is that They look at their sidewalks, and numerous people have pointed out to me, look at my sidewalk, it's falling apart. I call the city tells me that I would have to replace it on my own dime. They pay taxes. I don't understand why the city cannot replace those sidewalks. Now, it's my understanding there is funding set aside on a yearly basis for infrastructure. Great. But where is this money going, and where is the concentration? Is it just downtown New Britain? Because I'm hearing it from outside neighborhoods that they're feeling neglected. They have potholes in their streets, sidewalks that are falling apart, and they are saying, we pay taxes. In fact, 2 years ago, my taxes went up. If they went up, why can't the city replace those sidewalks?
Sharon, you want to rebut?
Sure. There's an app on the city website. See it, click it, fix it. So if you have a pothole in your neighborhood, take a picture of it, put it into the city website, and lo and behold, it gets fixed. So if you have some potholes, we have a system online for you to go. If it doesn't, if you've used the system and it doesn't, you have aldermen to call. You have aldermen to call to say, hey, I live on Linwood Drive and I put this in the system and it's been weeks and we haven't heard anything back. Now the alderman's going to follow up on that. Sidewalks, the sidewalk cost share, it's actually a city ordinance. So Bobby, any member of your team could actually propose to remove that ordinance so that sidewalks are free. You're going to have to raise taxes to pay for that. But right now, sidewalk repair is a 50-50 cost share between the homeowner and the city. We put money aside so that the city pays 50% of that sidewalk repair.
Okay. Sharon, this is for you. When you launched your campaign earlier this year, you said the campaign included 6 pillars, including lowering property taxes. Please elaborate specifically on what you can do as mayor to achieve that goal.
So I will lower property taxes, and it's because I will be handed a city in stellar financial shape. There are several bills that we pay under debt service that are retiring in the budget we just passed. So that frees up money from debt service that could go towards lowering taxes, along with we have a tax stabilization fund that we just added $2+ million to. So when I look out to the audience and I say I could lower your taxes, it's because I understand city financing and I can lower your taxes.
Bobby, you want to rebut?
Look, when I become mayor, we're going to put a cap on taxes. We cannot continue with taxes going up. They have gone up, and she's voted twice to increase taxes. That's the truth. So now you want to cut taxes that you have increased. I just don't get this. But hey, that's great. That's a great formula. Let's if that's how you do it, I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to look at our finances, and I'm going to have to make some really big decisions, right? There's going to be some things that we're going to have to move around, and we'll move around. But the bottom line is taxes will not increase. We cannot afford more tax increases here in the city of New Britain. We just can't do it. I took a $3,000 hit 2 years ago on my property. We can't do it. And then you wonder why so many people are unhoused.
Sharon, this question is for you.
Don't I get a rebuttal?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry. 1 minute.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So the state of Connecticut, in its wisdom, put a cap on car taxes, and they were supposed to pay the municipality the difference between property taxes and car taxes. And guess what? They haven't fulfilled that promise. Another unfunded mandate in taxes. So you did cap taxes. You just didn't pay the city for the difference in what we lost.
Okay, Sharon, this question's for you, and then Bobby answered the same question. ICE officials have held raids in numerous communities in this state. What is your view on those raids? Do you think city leaders should be notified prior to any raids? And what kind of cooperation would you give the federal government if they ask for it? Sharon?
That was me first?
Yes.
Okay. So there are laws on what can and can't be done. And as the city of New Britain, we follow those laws. The Board of Education actually has a very clear policy for what happens if ICE shows up at the schools that are implemented, and an administrator is contacted immediately, and ICE needs a bench warrant to have access to the schools. They cannot just come up. There's 2 different kinds of warrants, and forgive me, I forgot the name of the other one. It might be just generated from within the department, but unless they have a warrant from a judge, they will have no access whatsoever to the schools. But I know the schools have to call an administrator. On the city side with the police department, unless the warrant The bench warrant is for someone who committed a felony. The police department does nothing to assist in the apprehension.
Bobby?
I think that's great that the police does nothing to apprehend these individuals if there's not a warrant. The problem is that we are living in some really tough times here in the United States. We have immigrants that are being arrested, not just because they committed a crime, but because they look Hispanic. And that's the bottom line. I have seen this. I have seen Puerto Ricans who are the national citizens of the United States be arrested. Yeah, they were let go because they found out afterwards that they were citizens of the United States. The system is so broken. ICE is so broken. What's happening is a devastation of what's going on here in this country. And our school systems are seeing low attendance rates because many of these immigrant families are keeping their children home of fear. It's wrong. We shouldn't have to live in a society of fear.
Sharon, do you want to rebut?
I wouldn't rebut. I would agree with that. It's a travesty for children to live in fear.
We'll do 3 more questions. First, this one is to Bobby. Please, Bobby, please tell us one out-of-the-box idea, proposal, or initiative that you'd like to tackle if you became mayor. One unique out-of-the-box idea that Bobby would propose.
One of the ideas that I like to propose is what they call day centers. So I want to have a day center. We have something similar to that here in the city of New Britain, the Hope Center on Arch Street, but it's not open for a long period of time. A day center would be open from in the morning from 6 a.m. and would close around 9 or 10 p.m. It would have to be a collaboration between state and city in order to get people in there, social workers, and probably visiting nurse, or having a collaboration with the community health center here in the city of New Britain to provide unhoused individuals that are out there in the central park of downtown New Britain or at the CT Fast Track, that will have a place that they can go to. And it will provide, it's like a daycare. They will have a place that they can go to. They're not in downtown New Britain. They're not at the CT Fast Track. And if we find people in those areas, we can always refer them to go back to this day center and keep individuals there where they will feel safe, where they can hang out outside, or they can get a cup of coffee, or they can wash their clothes, or they can take a shower. That's what we need. We don't have that right now.
Sharon, one out-of-the-box idea for you.
That sounds like the Hope Center. Unfortunately, the Hope Center isn't open 24/7, which I wish it would be, because that does sound like something the Hope Center is responsible for doing. I would like to see internship programs. I would like to see more programs for high school students, like bringing interns into City Hall. The high school's done a great job, and I was on the Board of Education at the time they initiated the Health Academy, and then all these other academies sprung from that. And it gives our high school kids opportunities to earn certificates and accreditations moving forward. And I would like to open that up into City Hall so that young people get an opportunity to see what jobs are like in the police department, in the fire department, in the mayor's office, in the planning office, so that they have career exposure to various careers, so that they would have ideas then on what they might like to do post high school. I would like to see that happen.
Thanks, Sharon. All right, 2 more questions. Sharon mentioned the youth, the city's youth. What programs and or initiatives can the city roll out and or expand on to keep the city's youth occupied and engaged after school and during the summer months? And then Bobby, the same question for you.
Well, it's an interesting question because we do so much already. And it's funny because I answered the previous question with something like that. Our Parks and Rec do a lot after school in our schools. So there's a lot going on there. We also have a fantastic not-for-profit network, OIC, HRA. There's a huge network out there that works with our youth. In City Hall, we also have the Youth Leadership Council and the Youth Prevention Council. So we have a lot of action going on right now in the city of New Britain geared toward youth. I would like to hear from parents or from the youth themselves on what they would like to see. I mean, we have PAL, We have the junior canes. We have a variety of activities for our youth already to engage in throughout the city of New Britain. So I'm very proud of what we already offer. If there's more to be done, I'd like to hear from the young people themselves on what they would like to see in our parks. Every park has a unique flavor to it, from skateboarding to basketball to handball to softball and baseball. We have a lot to offer kids in New Britain. So yeah, I would want to hear from the youth themselves, or encourage them to go to a Park and Rec Commission meeting and talk about what they might like to see in terms of programming.
Bobby, same question for you.
I'm glad you brought that question up because as a state rep, we have provided the city of New Britain nonprofits thousands and thousands of dollars for youth violence prevention grants. We provide money to PALS, to the Junior Canes, to Pathway Senderos, to OIC. We provide money to HRA, all these groups to keep children off the street in the evening hours and to keep them preoccupied. This year, we actually saw an increase. It was $300,000 that we were providing the city of New Britain. This year, we're up to $600,000. We also helped with the Boys and Girls Club camp out in Burlington, Connecticut, where we provided them $2.8 million in bonding so that they can bring the camp back to life. And it's being used, which is something that's really good that we need for our youth. So providing more dollars for our youth programs is very important.
Do you want to rebut, Sharon?
No, I think this is something he and I agree on.
Okay, great. Last question, and nothing to do with politics. So for both of you, Bobby, you're first. What book, other than the Bible, had the biggest positive impact on you, and why?
Oh, gosh. Other than the Bible?
Yes, because everyone's going to say the Bible.
You're killing me here, because it is the Bible. I look, as a preschool teacher, I can tell you this: the book that really helps me with kids and get them really activated and motivated is The Hungry Little Caterpillar.
Okay, there you go. Okay. Why not?
So yeah, I like that book.
Sharon?
So I can't say the Bible, but I'm going to say a book that relates to your faith, The Shack. The Shack was a book that really made you think and question your belief system, your belief in the power above, and how to heal. So I would say The Shack.
Thank you, guys. Okay, closing statements. Bobby won the coin toss. So Sharon, you go first.
Okay. So I think this has been a very robust debate. We have things that we agree on and things that we're vastly different on. I just ask you all to think about how we answered the questions, how we presented ourselves, what our background is. Mine is in local government, and my opponent's is in state government. And if there's anything that was left unsaid, some question that you have about either one of us, we both have websites. So I would encourage you to go to the website to look us up even further. But I do want to tell you, I'm very proud to be a candidate for mayor. I'm very honored to live in this city. Win or lose, I will always be a New Britain person. I'm not going anywhere, and I will continue to serve my community in any capacity that the residents would like to have me serve you. I love you all, whether you are for me or whether you're not for me, whether you have questions about anything, it's okay. This is what America is all about, to have civil discourse, to be able to agree to disagree with each other, to be able to debate really passionately, and still at the end of the day walk away as friends. I intend on shaking his hand and wishing him luck, although I really hope I win. But I plan on saying to Bobby, listen, we're not enemies. We're just opponents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bobby, you're set.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I was waiting
No,
for you.
yeah, okay, thank you.
So I want to thank the audience for being here today and listening to our proposals. Yes, we do have our differences, and we do agree on some of the things, some of the issues that we talked about today. I'm still concerned that we still have high taxes, regardless of what's been said today. Our taxes are high, and people just can't make it here in the city of New Britain. The other thing too is that as your state representative, I have fought and brought in the resources that are needed for our educational system, for our school construction. Yes, I was there when Gaffney was constructed. I was vice chair of the education committee. We were able to bring them at 79%. Gaffney and Smalley. Chamberlain was at 95%. And of course, Holmes at 95%. And we can't leave out Smith, a preschool, and Jefferson School, which have all been already negotiated at the state level and approved for funding in the near future. So, and that will all be at 95%. The preschool will be at 100%. I'm going to really, really push as mayor for a new high school. I've been hearing from high school students, they really want a new high school here in the city of New Britain. And so I'm going to make sure that happens without the city putting in any bonding money into this project. There are cities like Hartford and Danbury that have gotten 100% for their high school projects, and I want the same thing here in the city of New Britain.
Thanks, Bobby. I'm sorry. I think it's okay.
So my parents came to New Britain to give me a chance of a better life. I carry their values every day, and like hard work, service, and faith in the community. I know challenges will take time and effort, but we can meet them together. I believe in our future. I believe in New Britain, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thanks to both of you. I really appreciate it. Thanks to you guys for coming out here today to watch this. It was very informative, and thank you for both of you again for your time and telling us what your positions are on the issues. Thank you. Sharon, thank you. Thank you, Bobby. Good job. Thank you.